one of the things that I talk about is when you finally click in because you've done the work, then life happens. And so I am so grateful that I was ready, like I was clicked in.
Hmm.
And I had 7 years of trauma, like dumped, like those are here's your life experiences, because we know you want to help people.
Yeah.
And and so just kind of going through that and realizing, I think once you come out the other side of really challenging experiences here on planet Earth, I think that you have the opportunity to really feel the appreciation and the gratefulness of
Hmm.
everything that you, just the peace that comes with. I was talking to a patient today and I said, I remember the day that peace finally came to me. And I remember I was in New York City. I lived in New York for many years. And I saw Wayne Dyer
Hmm.
at the Paramount Theater. And I think I must have been like 21, 22, something like that. And I remember him doing this whole speech about how his reputation, he is not in control of his reputation. And he's like, you might leave here, you might think, oh, I'm funny. This one might think I'm an asshole. This one, well, like whatever he was saying, like he was just kind of pointing out that everyone's going to see him through a different lens.
Yeah.
And then he said, but I am responsible for my integrity.
Mm.
And that changed my life. I mean, I had been doing my work and everything else, but that really brought me such peace because even when I made mistakes, I knew I just have to take responsibility for them. I might not always be able to correct every aspect of that mistake,
Hmm.
but I had to either deal with the shame that I had about the mistake or be, but it was mine. And it was my integrity that I had to keep healing or aligning with, or but if you know you're coming to peace with you, then life becomes a lot more simple. That if you are a decent human and you're people pleasing or you're wondering what someone's thinking about you, it's more important what I think about me and was I okay with it? Because if I'm not okay with it, then I'm going to be projecting that all over the place.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense.
So when you're talking about, so you come to a place of peace where it's kind of like, I love my animals, I love my family, I love, the friends I choose to surround myself with, I love what I do. And you just really get to embrace all that if you choose to.
Yeah, yeah. I love that you started out with that. It immediately brought me back to my first yoga class when I went into Savasana and I felt a deep peace for the first time.
Mm.
And my upbringing, there wasn't a lot of peace. There was a lot of fighting in the family, a lot of family trauma just because of the violence and the fighting with my mom and dad every night, every night, every night. It was ridiculous. And my whole life became about finding peace and promoting peace. I used to wear this big giant peace sign in my 20s, and I was like, but that yoga class, when I experienced peace for the first time, a deep grounding peace, was like, wow, this is amazing. And I like what you're saying about the integrity and how that brings you peace because you're right. You can't, or he's right. You're both right. You can't control what other people think about you ever. So
No,
I was
exactly.
reading about your morning routine. It seems pretty elaborate.
Gosh, I don't know. It, I think that when you build a morning routine, it
Yeah.
has to make sense to you,
Yeah.
right? And I always say that I think when there's more demand on you, there's more of a need for that morning routine. And I think that my morning routine started when I became a therapist. I probably in an internship
Hmm.
because I was then taking care of other people.
Yeah.
And I'm a very big believer that you teach that if you're going to help guide other people, you better be a clean instrument yourself. And
Yeah.
that doesn't mean that like there's a benchmark. There's a benchmark of, can I listen to you openly and honestly and explore your beliefs and values and use your beliefs and values to guide us in the direction that you want to go in? And if there's some distorted thinking, help you to see that, always knowing that this is your life. So when I work with younger people, I always say, at whatever age I was at, and I'm like, listen, you don't want to live a 59-year-old woman's life. You want to, so it doesn't matter what I would do for my morning routine. But I've been a mother, I've taken care of two children all by myself. It's like I needed to have a very full well before I went out into my village to give the water away. And I always say, if you don't fill up your own well, your cement's going to crack.
Yeah.
So I don't know how to show up in life. My neurology is probably neurodivergent. So in order for me to show up, I have to get firing on all cylinders so that I can show up for you, so I could show up here. And to me, getting up, doing eye movements, doing breath work, exercising, I think I have it in such a tight-knit practice that
Hmm.
developed over time based on my needs
Sure.
and based on how centered I needed to be, how focused. But I come in the office and I have said on many occasions, I don't know how people do life without meditating and doing breath work. And like I do a little chanting, and like that centers me. It almost like opens my human vehicle on planet Earth to receive all of the energy of myself. And it gets my symphony of organs and parasites and fungus and bacteria and viruses all like on the orchestrator, and they're all working together. So I just see that as really important as a way of me being able to do my life and feel grounded and connected and happy or joyful.
Welcome, friends. Welcome back to this week's episode of the Inspired Yogi. I'm here with Shari B. Kaplan today, and this is going to be an exciting conversation. Shari has so much in-depth knowledge of mental health. She's been working in the field for over 30 years. She takes a very holistic approach, and I just can't wait for this conversation. Let's dive in. Shari, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
It is really my pleasure. And, reading about your background and all that you've been doing, um, almost makes me feel like, what am I doing? I'm not doing enough. She's doing so much. So bless you for all the work you've been doing and helping so many suffering souls on so many levels.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. Like I think that I probably have less of a personal life than other people. Like I really dedicated my life on taking care of my family and
Mhm.
taking care of the people that I take care of. And I figured one day they would grow up and I would start building my life. And they are now in their 20s, and that time has come. So I'm trying to focus down and just take on my projects one at a time now, and enjoy each and every one as I go.
Excellent. That totally makes sense. Um, so I want to start, there's so many directions that we could go in, but I want to start with getting back to you. We talked a little bit about your morning routine. Can you tell me about the eye movements, why you're doing them, and why you started, and what
Sure.
what they do for you?
So I don't know if you know this, but your eye muscles are connected to the top part of your neck. And when you move your eyes up and down and side to side or in a figure eight, you
Hmm.
actually start loosening up the muscles in your neck. And
Oh, interesting.
so I think as somebody who's a yogi, you understand that then runs down your posterior chain. So also when you start moving your eye movements up, down, side, side, circle to the right, circle to the left, or figure eights, what you're doing is you're activating all different parts of your brain and you're getting them to come online. So it really wakes you up in many different ways without boring you with the neuroscience of it. So that's why I do that.
Okay, excellent. I read a book. It was a really old book. I think it was like written in the 20s or something like that, maybe even before that. It was called the Yoga of Eyesight. And they
Oh,
really recommended the techniques that you're using and many others, um, because they said if you're doing those eye movements every day, you're balancing out the muscles of the eyes, and a lot of times it's improper muscle tension in your eyes that actually causes the roundness to go away, which causes poor eyesight. So,
mhm.
how's your eyesight?
Oh, well, I can't say that's great, but I will tell you that when you have trauma,
Mm-hmm.
your limbic system gets locked up, right? And the limbic system is the part of your brain, for any listeners who don't know, where it takes in the information from your eyes, your ears, and your senses and gives it a meaning. So it like I'm looking at this green stuff that's hanging behind you, and I see it. And if I was there, I could smell it, and I might be able to hear it if the wind was blowing. And then my brain would pull it all together and say, oh, we recognize the pattern of plants,
Mm-hmm.
right? So that's what the limbic system does. And in trauma, the brain goes into lockdown and it is hyper focusing on what it needs to accomplish, whether it's going to fight, run, or hunker down, right? And freeze.
Mm-hmm.
So oftentimes auditory processing, and you could see this in some of Bessel van der Kolk's old studies, like many, many years ago, about boys who come from homes where fathers are abusive tend to have a higher level of auditory processing problems. Well, we also see that they have ocular motor problems. So when you move your eyes in different directions, you're unlocking systems in your brain that will then allow you to have more access to thinking in your brain rather than being locked in and hyper focused.
Oh, that makes sense.
Right.
Very cool.
And we could say that about a lot of different exercises, but you're sitting up in your bed, and if you need to get online really quick in your head and your body, eye movements are a great way along with some breath work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love breath work. What type of breath work do you do in the morning?
So I have, like gone to many different breathwork training classes,
Mm-hmm.
but what I find to be the fastest and the most helpful is breathing in through my nose for 3 counts, almost like it's going right into the center of your brain.
Mm-hmm.
And then imagine it going down my spine to my tailbone and exhaling it back up my spine through the center of my head and all the way out the top.
Mm-hmm.
And really taking more like 3 counts in and 6 counts out so that you are activating more parasympathetic, that
Mm-hmm.
part of you that's more peaceful and calm and restful. So that's why I do that breath work because it gets me grounded in the morning. The other thing that I really like to do right before I meditate is I like to get all the air out of my lungs. So what do they call that in yoga? Vacuuming your lungs, or
There's so many different names for different techniques.
but do
It's
you know what I
hard.
mean? Like when you breathe and you keep your ribs up and then you're pulling in
Your
so
gut
that
in.
everything is up high and your gut gets really tiny. I feel like
Mm-hmm.
it's a great massage for what's going on like your internal organs. And I feel like that's a great way of helping your body get rid of toxins and being able to get present in your day.
Oh, I love that. And do you want to share about your meditation technique since we're talking about all your morning routines here?
I've been meditating since I'm 11, and
Wow, great.
I probably change it based on what I need.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the most important things that I think is helpful is being able to go down your energy centers in the center of your body. And then once you do that, actually feeling each energy center around you. So if we are encapsulated by the energy of our self or our soul, in psychology, we're only allowed to say self, but if
Okay.
we're encapsulated by this energy field, I want to bring that energy into my body, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I want to not only feel it at the top of my head, but I want to feel it above me, in front of me, to the right of me, to the left of me, and feel the entire encapsulation. I think that that does a lot energetically if you work with energy and you know what that's about. But I think what it also does is we've been told for years that there's only five senses, six if you believe in that. But
Mhm.
there's really many, many more. And I think by being able to take the time to sense the energy around you, if you have the ability to sense it in color, I think you just keep turning on and activating more and more neurotransmitters and receivers as you do that exercise. And I think what it does for me is it tunes me in to myself, to my environment, and gets me set up for my day.
That's excellent. And I'm sorry to focus so much on your morning routine. I just find it amazing. How long do you spend on your morning routine each day?
Oh, well, it depends on how much time I have, but
Okay.
I usually wake up around 4 or 4:30 in the morning.
Hmm.
But that's because I have an entire animal kingdom, both inside and outside of my house, that I like to take care of, and that takes a good 45 minutes. Um, but if I'm in a bit of a rush, I'll take only 15 minutes to meditate. And if I have a little bit more time, I'll usually do 30 minutes. On the weekends, I'll do longer just because I find it to be such a energizing and peaceful place to hang out, if you will.
Yes.
And then I exercise usually 30 minutes in the morning, 30 to, yeah, around 30 minutes in the morning. I'll either go for a run or I'll do some weight training. And then 4 days a week, I'll go to Pilates in the evening. And so I like to do both. I like to move my body first thing in the morning. And so let's say I have a day and I'm in a rush. I won't even get in the shower till I've done 10 push-ups, 10 squats, 10 mountain climbers, just because like this is my vessel on planet Earth. I have to turn it on. I have to get it moving.
Yeah.
And I do a lot of I always forget to say I do yoga, but I think that I do it before and after my workouts so that I don't think right now, for a while, I haven't had a full yoga practice. I've just brought that along with me. But I
Hmm.
used to go to yoga many days a week.
Excellent. Excellent. Yeah, it's funny you mentioned running, and we're close in age. I think you mentioned 58. I'm 62. I just did a advanced scuba diving class with a guy who was close to our age, right in that same ballpark. And his doctor told him to quit running because he's too old. I'm thinking, what? Why does age have to stop you from running or being active? It's just, that blows
Not
me.
only that, but all the newer longevity science shows
Hmm.
us that being able to do that kind of moderate to vigorous exercise, obviously training yourself up to it, is really helpful. Where I remember years ago, I was told that, the pounding, remember we were told like pounding on your knees isn't good, but
Yeah.
when you really think about it, when your bones get to bump together, so to
Hmm.
speak, you're actually creating electrical currents that allows your body and your bones to grow, and
Hmm.
your bone marrow, your blood, that's all in your bones. And they now know that that's very helpful for our longevity, our health, our well-being. So
And
we're
increasing bone density,
yeah.
which is really important.
And I always wonder, like, who says these things that this is bad for you and that's bad for you? The person who doesn't like it, the person who wouldn't benefit from it, uh,
Yeah.
the industries that wouldn't benefit from it. So I'm very skeptical after, actually, I am 59, after 59 years of listening to different things work in the nutrition industry, and then it stops. And then, what we know about medicine, and then that changes.
Hmm.
And just even what we know about cholesterol production really comes from sugar
Yeah.
and having too much cortisol or sugar in your body. What I guess which is our natural form of sugar. So I think that we have to really scrutinize things that we're being told and really see um, if they make sense and if they feel right to us, because sometimes we really don't know what was the motive behind it. And I hate to say that because I don't like to doubt our own science, but we have seen over the years this is great, you should do this, and now all of a
Hmm.
sudden it's not.
Right.
You have
Yes.
what's
Unfortunately, the science often gets manipulated with funding and different things to promote sometimes things that aren't good for us. So that's kind of a shame.
yeah, well, and just think about it this way. If a company is gauging medicating someone on a 150-pound male,
Hmm.
like how is that helpful to somebody who's perimenopausal or postmenopausal or a young girl who's, just getting her menstrual cycle? Like I think that it's off.
I
It's off
agree.
in its gauge.
I
So
agree. I agree. So let's talk mental health now. You provide a holistic approach to mental health, from what I understand.
it's holistic and integrative. It's
Integrate.
evidence-based and it uses a lot of different protocols from a lot of different areas of, I guess, holistic health.
Okay. And how does that differ from mental health, the mainstream mental health, behavioral or cognitive or whatever?
So this is what I've been writing about.
Okay.
I see when someone comes to me, I don't see someone walking in my door with their symptoms and their diagnosis because I just think that's a way of somebody telling me that there's something going off in their human ecosystem. And I see them as a human ecosystem. So there's this, and then there is the energy of the self that is navigating and using this to be on planet Earth, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we've all gone through different experiences, including in utero. And we have been exposed to toxins, we have been exposed to illnesses. There are so many different aspects of life that impact our mental health: illness, injuries, surgeries, relationships, different kinds of traumatic or chronic stresses. There's so many different things that could be going off in our body, our gut issues, Lyme disease, so many different things.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Things that we are neurodevelopmentally born with, and neurodivergence, and all different things. And each aspect has a different impact on our humans functioning and on our brain function and on how we experience ourselves behaviorally.
Mm.
And I'll give you an example. If you have a child who was born and they have sensory processing issues, meaning that them taking in their environment as an infant, it hurts to be touched, the sounds are too loud, the lights are too bright, and that baby cannot find peace in their body. They are screaming at the top of their lungs, and usually the parents don't know what's going on. But can you really attach to that baby unless you intuitively know what that baby needs? And there's so many people who are exhausted and depleted and just don't even know how to help that child. So meanwhile, the high-pitched screaming is damaging their auditory system.
The babies or the parents?
Yeah, the babies.
The babies, okay.
The parents are doing everything they can to be okay, but a lot of times you just want to get away from the screaming, so they might leave the baby,
Hmm.
which means that child now feels unsafe, right? Because they need
Hmm.
their mom's body, and the
Yep.
mom might not have the capacity to be able to soothe them with herself because of whatever her issues might be. So now you get a kid who is developing a type of separation anxiety. And all of a sudden, they show up in your office when they're 5, and they're like, my kid has behavioral problems, and they won't listen. Well, by that time, they could have auditory processing problems. They might be feeling really anxious and scared. They might have obsessive behaviors developing, all as a way for that kid's human ecosystem to be able to survive in their environment. And so when I see somebody, my assessment and my ability to understand them has to go really deep. And I always say if you do the right assessment from the first time you meet your patients, then you really can collect a lot of data, a lot of information that can show you the patternings, where things started, where the anxiety started, where the OCD started, how the depression started developing. These symptoms are indicators of how somebody is surviving and what the body is doing to adapt to its environment in order to survive. And so some of it is not good, right? And
Mhm.
we have to not only know, if we understand where it comes from, we can then create a multi-layered approach to actually helping that person. So say that child comes in and has developed OCD because they're so anxious because they don't feel safe. Well, you're not going to get the kid to feel safe by talking to him, right? You're
Mhm.
going to actually have to do things so that their body feels safe before you can even get in there and talk about it. And once you can get them moving their body using different types of modalities, whether it's sound, movement, humming, whatever you're doing to engage that child, or, depending on what age you get them,
Mhm.
then you can start talking about, hey, maybe we need some herbal plant medicine, maybe we need to change your diet, maybe we need to engage a functional medicine psychiatrist who understands how to supplement, how to medicate, how to do the dance of, we're trying to help this person's ecosystem get to a place where it can do some healing. And then you're going to do the psychology piece. You can do
Mhm.
the EMDR, you can do cognitive behavioral. I mean, there's over 300 modalities we can choose from. It's really about having a human ecosystem framework that you're looking at the patient from, and
Mhm.
understanding, who do I need to bring in as my treatment team to help? And how much do I need to know to be able to pull things in? And I was just very fortunate that I didn't start off in the mental health field. I started off in a totally different industry. And because of that, I accumulated a lot of different certifications, skill sets, mindsets that helped me create multidisciplinary approaches to helping somebody's human get to a place where it can self-correct and self-heal, where it can get to a place where you can actually do the mental health piece along with what you need to do to get the body to a better place.
Yeah, I hear you, and I think that that assessment piece that you're talking about, I've seen so many. I'm a registered nurse. I've worked in hospitals, and I've seen so many doctors and people that listen to people and try to assess people that really don't seem like they're hearing what the patient says or feeling what they're putting out. Like there's no empathy involved, and it's like I just feel like they miss things so often. So I think it's really good what you're doing in your assessment. And as
You
you were
know,
talking,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
no, you're fine. As you were talking, you brought so many things back to mind. I used to be a labor and delivery nurse. I worked with a lot of moms and babies, after birth and stuff, and seen so many different things that you're speaking to, and it's just so complicated. There's so many things going on. I used to have my own yoga studio, and I worked with a girl who did private lessons for quite a while, who was 11 years old and had some of these sensory input problems. Like sometimes she just couldn't wear socks, or touching was out of the question. Just sensory overloads. But the parents, the grandparent that brought her in, said that the yoga classes were just helping her so much when she got home and throughout her day and throughout her week. And I was like, I don't really understand how. I just know that whatever I was doing was working for her, and I love that it was. So,
Well, I mean, there's so many reasons why yoga is a very powerful modality to do along with the therapy. And
mm-hmm,
that's because when you do yoga, there's so many different things going on. You must stay present in your body. You are in the present moment. And in order to move through the poses or even hold a pose and allow your energy to move through the poses, you have to be present.
Yeah.
And that means there is no living in the past. There is no living in the sensory agitation. You are present and you're tuning into your entire system. You're also doing a lot of proprioception work, right? You're
Hmm.
pushing the ground away. Your muscles are, your how would you say it? Your muscles are firming up. You're
Kind of like
supporting.
an isometric
Right,
work.
you're supporting your body with your muscles. That's all sending signals back to so many different areas of the brain that
Mhm.
need to keep you in the present moment, but that also activate our sensory system, right? So
Yeah.
parts of the sensory system are just not getting a strong enough signal for people who have sensory processing challenges. So that's why yoga can be, those are some of the reasons, plus their breathing.
Yeah.
Plus, you're present and you're co-regulating. To me, like your yoga teacher matters so much.
Hmm.
Are they a good fit for you? Are they a good fit for your body? Who are you in class with? I think all that matters when you're doing yoga for mental health.
That makes sense. Yeah. What other modalities are you using in your practices? You mentioned like 300 different things. So I don't want
Well, I mean, when it comes to psychotherapy, I've been
to.
practicing for so long that I've probably integrated everything from Gestalt work to ego state psychology and EMDR and internal family systems concepts and um, cognitive behavioral. I just think we all do, but maybe I'm wrong. But I just think that's kind of the cornerstone of things. And you
Hmm.
build up from there. There's a lot of different behavioral stuff. I do, I use acting exercises so I can get people connected to their emotions in their body and then teach them how to communicate and express themselves. I
Can you
definitely
share a
use,
little bit about what that looks like?
so the way that it looks is being able to like sit here, and if you're sitting in front of me, I just look into your eyes and I start connecting to what's going on in my body. Calm, peaceful, interested, excited, warm, caring, weird, goofy, silly, right? So like those feelings, just our emotions are coming up like this. And we
Hmm.
weren't taught this. We weren't taught that if you just breathe and don't judge, you're having so many different emotions so quickly, one after the other. And what happens for a lot of people is we've been unsafe, we've been powerless at times, we're scared. And so we clamp down when we get an emotion. Like I got angry, clamp. And now you
Hmm.
push that down and you're repressing it. And now
Yeah.
you have repressed anger. It could turn to rage one day. You can become explosive because you wouldn't just invite that feeling to come up and say, what's not okay with me, right? Because anger says, hey, this isn't okay with me. So what's not okay? Because I can either change my situation or I can change the way I relate to it. I always have those two choices. We
Hmm.
might not like the choices, but you still have the choices.
Yeah.
But if you just shove that anger down and you never do anything about your choices, it's almost like you're joining with who's ever making you feel powerless or whoever is at the cause of
Yeah.
you feeling powerless. That activation is yours. They might be causing and you might be receiving. But if you don't choose to do anything about that, if you don't even know what your feelings are, which so many people don't, they just don't even know what they're feeling.
Yeah. Actually, I
So
was
you
just going to
have to
ask you
teach
about
them
that. When I was in my 20s, I was in the Navy. My mother was an alcoholic, and I thought maybe it'd be good for me to go to adult children of alcoholic classes. And I go into these classes, and I'm listening to these people talk about their feelings, and I'm like, they're putting names to things that I felt that I didn't know how to put a name to or a label to.
that.
And I realized that I didn't understand what I was feeling most of the time. And there was a term I think called alexophilia I learned later. is a term for that, where you really don't understand or can process what you're feeling. And I've had to do a lot of work with it. But can you speak to that a little more?
So when people don't know what they're feeling, I'll say, well, when you tell that story, let's kind of scan your body. Like there's a little light going, dee, 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 right? Where do
Hmm.
you feel the tension? What do you notice? And they'll be like, I have tension in my throat. I'm like, okay, let's bring it out in front. What color is it? What shape is it? If it could talk, what would it say? Right? And it
Hmm.
might go, I hate you. And then it's like, I hate who? I hate what? And so if you're hating somebody, what feelings go along with that? Betrayal, anger, sadness, disappointment, right? So you can get to it by starting where the person's at. Because most everyone can tell me when we start scanning their body where the tension is.
Okay. And it helps to identify the feelings that they're having.
Well, then we can, get to what's really going on and then what the negative belief is about themselves. I'm not safe, I'm powerless, um, a belief of I'm not good enough, I'm bad. And they might not even know that that's in there.
Mm.
For years and years and years, people can believe I'm bad, but they would never think they have that belief because they're a really good person. But
Hmm.
when you think about having a mother or father who has very strong narcissistic features, and no matter what you did, it was never enough. The only way that a child, or one of the ways that a child survives, is by believing that they're bad. Because if they're bad, let me just be a good girl and I'll make it better,
Mm.
and then it'll be okay. But you can't believe my parents bad, because how do you survive when the only people who are giving you food, clothing, and shelter and supposed to be keeping you safe? Sorry about that. Um,
Sounds
I know there's a way to turn that off, but I tend to set off balloons and fireworks as well.
That's fine.
Sorry if that happens.
That's okay.
Um, but then, if you believed that they were bad, it would be much harder to survive. So a
Mm.
lot of people don't realize that they have this negative belief. So then they grow up and they're in a work environment and their boss says something totally benign, or just like, hey, could you not do it this way and do it this way instead? And they turn bright red, they're sweating, they're walking away, they feel so inadequate, like they've been bad. And they're like,
Hmm.
well, I don't even know where that comes from. And it's not until you take a deeper dive that you can see that there's no way you could have believed that your parents were behaving badly, that your parents were doing bad parenting.
Mm. Interesting. Yeah, I know you do a little bit of work with plant medicine. I recently did uh, a mushroom journey, and some of that came up for me, especially based around my grandparents more so than my parents. And it was like, oh wow, because I was always the black sheep of the family. I never conformed to Catholicism or a lot of the things they wanted me to do, and it was like, so, but that was deep in there, and I didn't realize it. It's like, it's been so many years, you kind of forget about it. But yeah, doing this plant medicine journey, it was like, oh yeah, there's some deep stuff in there that's wanted to bubble out during the journey. So,
Well, just to be clear, at my center, I do herbal plant medicine,
okay,
which are really formulations that are made from like food grade herbal plants
okay.
that I've made into formulas. And the psilocybin journeys that I've taken people on were like out in Colorado and California and the areas that were decriminalized at the time. And I'm a very big proponent of things like ketamine assisted therapy and psilocybin assisted therapy,
Mm-hmm.
because I believe that when our bodies, same thing with medical cannabis, like if our maker made us with receivers and enzymes in our body and we produce, like we all have fungus in our body.
Mm-hmm.
We all have cannabinoid receptors, which are the compounds in cannabis. and we make it and we make the enzymes to break it down, then why would we have that if we weren't supposed to be consuming plants? And I think that it's a great way that when your body is off, because you can get depleted of your own natural cannabinoids, and your body can be off, and the balance could be lion's mane or reishi, or maybe even psilocybin if your body is in pain or there's depression. There's different, and I think that we have to be careful, just like in psychiatry, to say like something blanket, like here's the blanket statement, it's going to work for all depression. It doesn't. There are people who exercise, eat healthy, do a lot of wellness practices. You give them psilocybin mushrooms and their receptors are going crazy. Those 5-HT2A receptors do not need more serotonin. They do
Hmm.
not need stimulation. So I think to say that it's going to work for everybody, and it's a shame because I know in Miami and I know in many different places, people are just, oh, take this mushroom, do this, do that.
Hmm.
And these are medicines. And
Yeah.
to take them willy-nilly and to not understand, number one, what your body needs, and number two, how much it needs, and if it needs that. I think in a world of mental health, I think we really need to be a lot more precise about the fact that here is the range and not everything. Like, here's an example. Ketamine assisted therapy can be absolutely amazing for some people who have depression and have been challenged to get to their root cause and get their biochemistry back in balance. And ketamine can offer some great compounds to help relieve your depression. And if you do the right therapy before and you do the right therapy after, which we call integration, you can really target some negative beliefs and help people release some negative beliefs that have caused anxiety and depression to be looping in their mind. However, there are other people who have that same level of depression who will do so much better at microdosing ketamine. Like, let's say if it was oral 25 milligrams during a therapy session, and actually doing EMDR and cognitive behavioral and gestalt work and different things that will, and visualizations that will help the person when their brain is calmer. So it quiets down parts of your brain so that you can actually process through and have more access to your true self so that you can see what you're working on from a different perspective. And then it makes it easier to release the negative beliefs and then install in who you truly are and how you want to move forward in your life. So same medicine used in different doses because different people need different things, and it would
Hmm.
actually hurt the person who needs the microdose to do a larger dose. And we have to have a better way of assessing that so that we're not hurting people, because I get a lot of people who come to me after harm has happened.
Mm.
And I always say I get the hardest, the most challenging patients because they usually get to me because nothing else worked. And it's
Yeah.
like, well, you might as well try her. She does a whole bunch of different things. But I really do think that it's in the assessment and the way that I get to the various root causes. It's not one, there's several. And then we have to work on all of them together.
Yeah. So from what I'm hearing, and I'm probably there's probably more to this, but the root cause of depression, are you saying it's from a negative thought somewhere or negative thoughts, or is there more
Not
to it?
always.
Not always. Okay.
Right. So let's just say that you were born with blood sugar issues. And when your blood sugar is not well managed, you're constantly depressed, right? So the solution is to get consistency in that blood sugar, but
Hmm.
then you also have to deal with real stuff has come up. You might have isolated, you might not have socialized as much. Maybe it kept you from developing relationships because your energy was so low. Because when you are depressed, you have a different lens that you look at the world with. And so when you're looking at the world through a lens where you think everyone's miserable because you feel miserable, and we project out what's going on the inside. So if you can't feel for other people because your body has gone into a state of depression, you think no one else can feel for you,
Yeah, that
right?
makes sense. Yeah.
Which is even more depressing. So it's not that the cause of it was the thoughts. It's the cycle started with a medical situation that then caused the thoughts, but now you're in this loop
Hmm.
that we're treating things separately.
Yeah.
And if you only treat one part of a person, only one part of the person can move. If we
Yeah.
don't treat the entire ecosystem together, then we never get to integration. And healing is integration. When we are able to, like, when I hear other clinicians say, well, we never heal, then I want to say, well, then you're not treating the entire ecosystem. Because you can get to a place where your whatever the negative beliefs are no longer what you function from, and that you can actually function from your strengths and the person who overcame things, and that you get to know who that is, and you get an appreciation for who that is. That doesn't mean that bad things in life don't happen and you don't have to have certain skills and tools to relate to them. And you might every once in a while, something happens and you go, wow, I haven't had that thought in a while. Like, wow, I haven't felt um, like I was a burden in a long time. Well, that's not even real. Is that really true? Is that really what's going on? Or did I just get activated in that area? Swipe. Because once you've done the work, you can swipe really quickly. But if you haven't done the deeper work, then you can't just swipe. And then you need to, now I have to regulate. Now I have to breathe again. Now I have to bilaterally tap. And now I always need to do something to feel better and manage it. And I don't want people just managing symptoms that your human ecosystem is saying, I'm still living from a pattern in my past. We can repattern, but it may have caused other physical things and it may have caused other behavioral things. And if we don't deal with all of it and spiritual things, I get a lot of people who were traumatized by different things in their religion.
Hmm.
And so you have to be able to look at someone's spiritual beliefs and their connections. I think relationships are huge. And I don't think, depending on who you are, you don't need many, right? Like some people say, if you have one or two really close friends that you could call at 3 o'clock in the morning, then you're doing great. But you also have to be able to connect with those people at least once a week. You have to be able to go to the coffee shop and hold a door open and say good morning and feel that people know you and you're connected. And then if you really are into connection, you might actually belong to something in your community or some, spiritual organization that you share the same values with.
Hmm.
But I think we've gotten so far away from being a part of a village, being part of tribes that have loving connection, meaningful relationships. And that is so a part of our mental health. We have receptors, we co regulate each other, we need connection.
Hmm.
And I think it's a huge part of mental health that if you're working with an individual and you're not steering them back to connection, then we're missing a piece of that human ecosystem and that
Mm,
framework.
yeah, I love that. There's so much talk about that type of connection in longevity now with having done research on people in blue zones and finding that that's such a big piece of people that have lived a long, healthy life.
Right. But
Yeah.
here's the thing. If you have had attachment issues, meaning if your trust in your primary caregivers and the people that you grew up with were so betrayed and wounded, telling somebody to just go and connect with a group of people is just not safe for your human ecosystem,
Sure.
right? And
Hmm.
that's why I say, like, you have to be able to assess it all at one time so that you can organize a treatment plan. And over my years of working in mental health, I came up with a framework that works for me and for my patients. And that is, I, I first do a repair process, then I do a releasing process, then I do a reorganizing process, and then I do a rebuilding process. And any clinician can do that framework with any type of modality. It doesn't have to be the ones I would choose. Is that there's an order to helping someone get their ecosystem and get back to their true self
Hmm.
and really get their human system under their management. So whether there's medical stuff to deal with, there's behavioral stuff to deal with, that's all a part of the repair work. When there's negative beliefs that need to be healed, that's part of the repair work. When it's time to detox and release the anger and the blame and the shame and all that, that's part of the releasing work, right? Then the reorganizing is you now have new beliefs, behaviors, you want to develop new habits, new patterning. That's part of reorganizing because you have to reorganize your whole system and your life with this new way of being in the world. And then you're ready with now that you've uncovered your true self and you are more aligned with who you are, now you're ready for your practices and to build your life with all your creativity and bring that into how do I want to do my life Monday through Friday? How do I want to do it Saturday and Sunday? Vacations. Like you can make choices from that place. So I think having a framework and having an assessment tool that really assesses all of who we are and not just a piece of who we are would then help us to help more people and their
Yeah, that
mental.
sure totally makes sense. And I'm sitting here thinking, man, how long is that assessment process? Because it seems like there's so much in the wheelhouse there that you have to assess. I mean, it feels like it would take a week just to really understand a person in that
It
assessment
usually
process.
takes me 1 to 2 sessions. Every once in a while, it takes three if somebody's
Okay.
in their 80s. But it's a pretty it's a very organized process. And here's the
Yeah.
thing: I don't let anyone talk to me about their traumas during that process.
Okay.
I We identify that this thing happened, but my feeling is this: if I can't neurobiologically help to shift the response in your body when we're talking about it, then
Hmm.
I'm just causing more harm than good. So it's one thing to identify it. We'll get back to it. That's part of the treatment plan. That's part of repair, release, reorganize, rebuild, right?
Okay.
Where we're gonna put it in order. We're gonna prioritize what needs to be done first, second, third. Um, but no, the assessment can really be, depending on the age of your patient, is usually 1 to 2 days, but sometimes three.
Okay. Yeah. Longer life, more stories. You mentioned neurodivergence a couple times. That's not a term I feel like I'm connected with. Can you share a little bit about that? What that is?
Sure. We talk about the autistic spectrum, right?
Mm-hmm.
And to me, what that means is you have an auditory processing problem, a ocular motor processing problem, or a sensory motor or a sensory processing problem. So you have some type of processing problem going on in your brain and body. And when one of those things are off, that's how you get attention deficit disorders, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we talk about attention deficit disorder and attention deficit hyperactivity disorder like it's a diagnosis, which it technically is. But to me, it's a symptom of the fact that something's off in your body and one of the ways that it processes major information. So I had quite a few head traumas early on in life, and I had an auditory processing problem, and nobody knew.
Mm.
But boy, did it affect me socially. It affected me. We would be sitting here having a conversation, and by the time you finished your first sentence, I couldn't remember what you said at the beginning. So if you asked me a question, I would forget what the question was by the time you got to the end of your question. And we didn't, like, no one talked to us about that growing up. Nobody knew. No one knew it was even happening to me. It was just, I didn't know to say anything. I didn't know that it wasn't normal. I just thought, gosh, I really can't understand what people are talking about. Or by the time my brain would hear it, it was on a timing delay.
Hmm.
So then I'd want to share my opinion or my perspective, or I want to engage, but they're already on like two conversations down the road. So
Mm.
then it's like your social skills are really off, right?
Yeah.
We didn't even have a word back then for social skills. So I think the word neurodivergence came up because this this is not an autistic spectrum. This is a neurological spectrum, and you see it in trauma, and you see it in autism, and you see it in the elderly. Because whatever was developing out of whack in childhood, which sometimes you'll develop out of it, right? And
Hmm.
then we say that person has attention deficit disorder. Wouldn't it be nice if we started looking at the testing? I can't tell you how many people come to me with their psychological report. They did this neuropsych report, and in the neuropsych report, it shows that a person has visual processing problems or auditory processing problems. And nowhere does it say, hey, you need to go for ocular motor training, and this is going to help develop you out of that. Or here are different therapeutic listening programs. And by doing movement with both of these different modalities of developing out of these processing problems, these are sensory processing integration exercises. It's music, it's movement, it's exercises. Like, this is the way that we get a brain to develop in balance. And that, I guess, means that you pay therapists, physical therapists, ocular motor therapists, um, occupational therapists, and not a pharmaceutical company, which could be
Yay.
part of the problem, right? And then
Yes.
there's supplements that actually support the body because now you have neuroinflammation from being out of balance.
Mm.
And so now we need to make sure that there are supplements. Then you don't have the right kind of enzymes to break foods down. Like, there is such a bigger problem that happens when your body is developing out of balance in this way. Your body's always in a state of fight or flight. So
Hmm.
it's almost like your body is in a state of low level trauma or mid level trauma,
Yeah.
just trying to get up and be at school on time or to be at work. And there's other things that go along with that, like thermodysregulation, where our body temperature is off. So you can see that if we don't understand conditions or the body's impairments, the body's strengths, and we're not looking at the whole human, we don't really know how to help the person completely. So now I know that my auditory processing was off. Like, I wish somebody would have taught me how to put it on. Lucky for me, I love singing, acting, and dancing. So, all the things that you do to correct auditory processing is music. So, I was singing scales all day, like many hours a day, singing
Yeah.
scales songs. I was spinning to the right, spinning to the left. All of these things work on your vestibular system, right? Dancing makes you very present. You have to figure out body awareness, which motor planning is a part of auditory processing and what can go off. So there's so much to learn and for clinicians to know that we need collaboration. We need to have other people to collaborate with. But first and foremost, we need a new framework for how we assess our patients, look at our patients. We need to be trained in who we have access to, including the yoga teachers, including the breathwork people. We don't have to do everything ourselves. I've built teams of people. I bring everyone in that I
Mhm.
need. I have a functional medicine psychiatrist. We have nutritionists. I have other clinicians. I know the people to call for OT, PT, and speech when I need them. I have acupuncture physicians that we work with. Like, there's so many different people who can help us out with our patients.
Yeah, I love the approach you're taking, the whole ecosystem of the body. It's just so needed. I mean, you don't hear that. I've never heard it anywhere else. So kudos to you.
Well,
You're
I'm
doing
writing
great
about
work.
it.
Oh,
So
good. Let's sell that book.
hopefully it'll be out around at the, by January, and we'll be able to help educate other clinicians, and hopefully people who need this kind of help will be able to come find it.
Great, great. A couple quick questions. I know we're getting close to the end of our hour here. What are your thoughts around positive affirmations and ask formations and their use? I've been using them since my 20s. I recently stumbled into positive affirmation and ask formation music in a lot of different modalities, not modalities, but in genres like rap. There's rap artists doing it, there's blues artists doing it, and I find this music just so powerful in helping to change the subconscious mind. So, what are your thoughts on that?
What, can you just tell me what an ask formation is?
Yes. So, if I say, I am healthy, but my subconscious is going, no, you're not. You've got these problems. You're not healthy. So, an ask formation is saying, why am I so healthy? And then your subconscious mind is looking for the reasons to justify this, that, or to answer the question, why am I so healthy? So, it's reprogramming those motor neurons in a different way instead of the subconscious mind just repelling the thought.
Okay, that makes sense. So I do something slightly different, but it sounds like we're accomplishing the same thing, just like in a
Hmm.
slightly different way. So I found when I was younger that saying a positive affirmation that my brain thought was bullshit
Hmm.
was not a good thing, because it would just call bullshit on me, and then
Sure.
I'd feel even more yucky on the inside, right?
Yeah. Like you're
So
lying to yourself. Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
But what is always true, and I very rarely use the word always, or I try not to anyway,
Hmm.
is the word willing. I am willing to know that I am healthy.
Mm.
I am willing to know that I am successful. Because then your brain does the same thing that you were saying, is
Yeah.
that it starts looking for all the ways that it is healthy.
Yeah.
I'm willing to know that I live my life without pain. Does the tip of your nose have pain? Do your earlobes have pain? Do your eyebrows have pain? Like, find the parts of your body. Like, your brain will go do that for you. And then you can expand those networks. So I am a very big believer. I mean, if you came in my other room, probably I could show you. I have sound bowls here. I have tuning forks. I
Hmm.
have sound bowls in our group room. When I was first a clinician in New York City, I worked with kids who had neurodevelopmental disorders. And when my son was born, he was born with a central nervous system challenge. And I actually taught him how to speak by singing the words. And I discovered, this is like back in 1991, that when I would sing to the kids and say, you gotta bounce, bounce, bounce that ball, that they would not only do it, but do it well. But if I stopped, their body would completely uncoordinate. So I
Mm.
learned by doing this with many kids, not that I let a lot of them fall flat on their face past the first one. Past the first one, it was horrible. Um, but I learned that if I taught the parents to sing in a jingle, like pick a
Hmm.
single jingle, when we were growing up, there was Flintstones, meet the Flintstones, right? So that's a pretty simple jingle. And
Hmm.
get your pick up your train now. Bring your train over to the table. Please get. you're trained now, right? And
Yeah,
then they can hear that. And all of a sudden, parents were like, my kids are listening because you're using a different part of the brain. And therefore, it can actually then find its way to the behavior. And
I love
so,
that. And I love that you stumbled onto that. How cool.
yeah. So I'm a very big believer in can you create a jingle? Can you create a song? I would just be mindful of how you go looking for that. So
Yeah.
I guess the language in the song would be really helpful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it makes sense.
But
Yeah.
I've never seen it. I think it should be studied, and I think it would be interesting to see what parts of the brain can light up when you're singing that affirmation.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I just stumbled onto it actually Facebook. It was started showing up in my feed because I love positive affirmations and work like that. I've been using them for decades, and I was thinking to myself, man, it'd be great to put this to music, and then it'd be even more powerful. And then Facebook starts bringing these songs to me, and I'm like, great. So then I actually did a podcast with one of the music artists that produces this positive affirmation, askformation stuff, and it's been really powerful for me, and it's spreading to others because I promote it a lot. What do you have like three tips you would give anybody suffering from mental health issues right now, whether it's anxiety, depression, or PTSD or anything?
Well, I guess that would really depend on the person. What would
Yeah.
I say? I would say find find somebody who, I mean, you really need to heal with another human. And I think if you can find a clinician who works with integrative mental health, um, you're going to have a better shot at being able to build a treatment plan that can help you
Mhm.
in and pulling together many different aspects of what could be fueling that mental health challenge. And I think people need to know that things are fueling the mental health challenge, your mental health challenge. I do know that exercise and nutrition and getting out in sunlight in the morning and being out in nature are just, I'm just saying, if you're not up and running, those things just baby steps, moving in the direction, doing one push up, doing, any kind of movement. I have people in wheelchairs, and I'm like, start here, start with the eye movements. You need to move internally. Our bodies are in motion. Stagnant energy causes challenges. Moving, hugely important. Breathing, different breath work, hugely important. Going out in nature and just looking around. I love the exercise of what are three things that I see? What are the three things that I smell? Whatever works for you, see, hear, smell. Can I then touch something? What can I feel? But getting present, staying present, just as a way of sustaining yourself to, before you get the right help is nutrition, exercise, breath work are the easiest things that you can do to at least move the needle a little bit. But sometimes we're behind the eight ball and we have to do something in our body before we can really do any of those simple things. So reaching out to somebody, there is good help out there. You have to find the good ones. There's bad help out there too. So if you go and you meet somebody and it feels yucky, it is yucky, go on to the next person.
Great advice. Excellent. I honestly want to keep talking to you for hours, but I know we're over the hour. um, uh, please share. Well, first, I wanted to ask, is there a lot of people doing integrative mental health right now, or is this kind of a new niche?
Well, I think whoever is doing it in a unique way. But there is
Okay.
functional medicine psychiatry. I have seen integrative psychiatry out there.
Okay.
I know that there's a lot more therapists doing breath work and bringing more holistic modalities into their practices.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of us, I walk my patients for the first half hour of sessions or move them in some way. I am fortunate enough to have a group room that I can do different kinds of movements to activate their brain and body, get them more present. I think you can ask around. People are starting to do it more and more, and hopefully, people are putting it in their bios when you can look them up. Ask, call. I always give people an opportunity to interview me on the phone, always.
Great. Now, are your clients, do they have to come to you or do you work online?
I do work online for people
Okay.
it has to be, it has to make sense. Like I
Yeah.
won't do it for everybody, because I think that sometimes someone needs to be in person. I prefer in person. I think that's the way we've been doing it for years. You can still co-regulate someone through technology, interestingly enough, but not the same way, and I don't think as well.
Yeah, I agree.
So I do prefer in person, but I have to, I'm licensed in New York and in Florida, so
Okay.
I do telehealth. I do have people fly in from different parts of the country, and
And you're
I
in Miami, is that correct? Boca Raton, Miami area?
I'm in Boca Raton.
Boca Raton.
I
Okay.
used to have an office in Miami, but I really got tired of the commute.
Yeah, sure. I understand that. How can people reach out to you if they're interested?
You can find us on our website at Connected. It's Cannectd. So if you put that anywhere, it's spelled uniquely, but
Mhm.
because the endocannabinoid system connects all of our other systems and modulates all the other systems in our body. I thought that was very fitting for how we do our work, that we are connected. And so if you can write that somewhere, that's probably the easiest way to find us.
I'll
And
put it
we're on
across.
Instagram and Facebook and YouTube at Connected.
Excellent. Excellent. I honestly would love to talk to you for another hour, but I know we need to wrap up here. Thank you.
Would love to meet with you another
So
time.